Lubega, thank you very much for coming to give us an interview today. I remember very well we met in November 2010.
That's right.
You were the independent candidate in the last presidential elections in Uganda, which took place in February 2011. And today you had a gathering here. Could you tell us about the gathering today in London?
Thank you very much for giving us this opportunity. Thank you very much, everybody. And our thanks to members of the international community as well as Ugandans home and in the diaspora. We are lucky today we had a mammoth gathering, bring together Ugandans of different walks of life, of different political beliefs, leading, or the convener being the FDC, our FDC friends, Forum for Democratic Change. And we had former presidential candidates, Dr. Chiza Besigye and myself, the Secretary Generals, and also the representatives of the different parties, NRM, DP, UPC, SUBI, and many others, in the same gathering. The theme of the day was about the crisis in Uganda. You can put it, the crisis in Uganda. And as well, how do we get out of this crisis? And that was put in one phrase, way forward. We had opportunity for people to present the different feelings about what is happening in our country. Those in the diaspora that have got to pay the bill for what our people are going through every day now. We know the diaspora is giving us almost 49% of our national income today through remittances. Looking after people, paying the school fees, paying the electricity bills, paying for food, both in the urban center, urban Uganda, and the rural Uganda.
Okay. Is it possible for you to tell us more about actually what happened during the elections in February 2011? Very briefly, please.
In brief, you can regard the general elections 2011, presidential and parliamentary, and also local government, as the greatest sham of an election the world has ever witnessed. Probably nowhere on the African continent that we've had a coconut type of elections, that we've had now the third time under the same regime and organized by the same regime in Uganda. The 25-year-old regime, now 26-year-old regime in Uganda. As members of the opposition, almost all of us, we were unanimous on one thing, that election was a sham, and we did not accept the results of that election, and we denounced the results. And the regime in Uganda, basically you can say, has effectively retained power for the fourth time, fraudulently, unconstitutionally, illegally, which also goes against our constitution.
Ms. Lubega, are you saying that the Electoral Commission was not fair?
We complained about this Electoral Commission, and as I told the public last time, we even got together as all candidates. We also wanted Ms. Museveni to be part of us when we indicted the Electoral Commission. Then we indicted it to the authorities that are in Uganda, we indicted it to the international community, and we're not comfortable with it. Actually, we wanted to boycott the elections. But you know, as people who apply positive and compassionate politics, realistic, we wanted to give democracy a chance. And we thought we would work under the burdens of what we are going, of our political system, to ensure that we could deliver the democracy, the people's verdict, as it should have been. Unfortunately, Mr. Museveni and his henchmen and the regime did not give us a chance. And they made sure that that incompetent, because it is on record, European Union, African Union, and for now 3 consecutive elections, they are saying that they have said, and they're on record to have said that Electoral Commission was incompetent, was fraudulent, and it was biased, and it was a regime electoral commission.
Mr. Lubega, when did you realize that the Electoral Commission was not competent? Before the election or after the election? Because we are having this story in Africa very often, whereby you have people going for presidential elections. When they are not successful, they claim fraud, and they accuse the winning party that the Electoral Commission was not fair or was not competent. When did you realize yourself and the other opponents of Mr. Museveni that the Electoral Commission was not fair?
Since 1996 elections, 2001 we indicted that Electoral Commission into the courts of law, just as it was before, just as it was in 2006. For 3 consecutive elections we thought this Electoral Commission was wrong. We took it to court. We won the cases, but only for people to say, anyway, whatever had happened, had happened. But we have been patient enough, thinking that Uganda is our country. We've gone through a lot with the Obotes, with the Idi Amin. We do not want our people and our country to go through what it went through during the Obotes, Amin, and now the 4 elections of Museveni. We thought we don't have to go and kill people because of our actions and irresponsibilities. That's why we have been stuck to giving democracy a chance. And Museveni, having been a product of a rigid elections, of despotic regimes which refused to listen to the people, we thought he had learned a lesson. Our neighbors have done the same, including Mobutu, Bashir now, and the rest of our neighbors in the Great Lakes region, leave alone what is happening in the rest of Africa, and probably the other friends of his in the world. We thought those were lessons enough for him to learn that if you want to serve your country beyond self, you can just help the people get an electoral commission that is for the people, not for the regime or an individual or family like it is today. That we could also have all stakeholders given the opportunity to say what they think is right for the good of our country and for the good of our elections.
Thank you. Mr. Lubega, and now it is too late to change the results in Uganda. Mr. Museveni has been inaugurated for another term. What next?
Yeah, our rejection of the elections 2011, his intransigence on wanting to keep a fraudulent, unconstitutional, and illegal electoral system, and the results that came through is one of the deepest crises our country is going through. What has happened is that it has sparked off other crises in the process, leave alone what the world is going through as a recession. Now, what next is that the people now feel they have been left with no option but for fighting together for democratic change and for democratic governance. And indeed, as we speak today, like the situation is in Bahrain, Syria, and elsewhere, and that it has been in the so-called Arab Spring, the people are now dying on the streets. And Museveni is not ashamed to kill his own people with members, with all weapons of different sorts, incarcerating innocent citizens, and also attacking the institutions of democracy, like the media, hitting them left and right, and making some of them lose their lives. This is one thing we are not going to leave go on under our watch. And this is one thing we want the international community and every sympathizer to the tyrannized Ugandan population to fight for the rights of Ugandans, including electoral democratic rights.
Okay. Now that the situation is what it is, what are the steps you are going to take to make sure that there is change in Uganda? You went through the elections and you were not successful. What you are hoping to happen, let's say, in the next 6 months? in Uganda?
Out of pain, a lot of pain, given what is happening to the Ugandan opposition, to the Ugandan media, to the Ugandan democratic institutions, we have not given up on our country. Actually, today's function is a manifestation of how we shall go all the full length to ensure that we can work together and win together. And indeed, as many people have already witnessed in Uganda, members of the opposition, members of the civil society institutions, members of the business community, members who are sympathizing from all walks of life are coalescing together to create a strong and robust pro-democracy kind of movement or solidarity that is going not only to give Museveni sleepless nights, but also to make sure that that despotic regime is out anytime from now.
Thank you. It's Lubega. If you look at what is happening in terms of the international community, you can see that Museveni is still needed in that region. You had the Americans sending approximately 100 troops to go and fight Joseph Kony. Museveni is still needed there for the international community. What do you think about that intervention from America to send troops there? And it seems the Europeans are sending troops as well, or they're on the way to go and support the Americans. What do you think about that intervention?
While I have my reservations, I would like to take the Americans, the European Union, and members of the international community in the right perspective. They have not said they are sending troops to Uganda to support Museveni. And I wouldn't like to believe they are doing so, thinking that Museveni is the right man for our country, having ruled that country for over 2.5 decades, now 26 years. One of now, after Gaddafi, the third longest serving dictator on the continent. I don't think they want to be part of that. I don't see Cameroon saying, yes, we are pro that type of despotism, a person who has denied his people, a person who is too corrupt by all records and by all statistics, a regime that is among those that have made their states dangerously failed. Uganda now is among the 21 dangerously failed states. Actually, they have stated that they are coming to Uganda or to the region to fight Kony. My reservations are on this point that Kony terrorized Ugandans, cutting people's mouth, and together with Museveni, by the way. They did it together because it takes two to tango. For 21 years. For the last 4 or so years, we have seen that subside, and the Kony even left the field, went as far as Central African Republic. Kony at the moment is not at his highest as a risk to the people of Uganda, neither as a risk to neighbors. He can easily be got. And the easiest way to get Kony is actually to bring democracy to Uganda. Because Kony is a Ugandan, and once Museveni is out, as he has always claimed, and as in many of the past elections and opportunities for peace talks he has said, Kony has always said, as long as Museveni is out of power, then he wants to come and live peacefully with the people of Uganda. The option for the international community in this one is to ensure that it works with the democratic forces within Uganda to depose a dictatorship that is ranked 3rd worst now in the world. Secondly, it is also important for America, the EU, and any other members of the international community to be on the side of the suffering majorities in Uganda and in the neighboring Sudan, Chad, Central African Republic, and the Sahel. It would be very dangerous.
You mean the DRC?
Yes, DRC. It would, yeah, that's why, thank you for correcting. It would be very dangerous for the international community to start work with a despot, just as one opting to work with Gaddafi at a time when the people of Libya and the people of Africa And the people of the the Arab world want him out.
Okay. Now you can see there is a saying which goes, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. The fact that America is sending troops, have sent 100 troops to Uganda to go and fight Joseph Kony, and the fact that the Europeans are on their way there, it is legitimizing the government of Museveni.
Seemingly.
Well, yes. Do you think it's a good move by the international community at this period when the Ugandan people are asking for change, democratic change in Uganda, for them to be cooperating with Museveni in this way, regardless of the cause?
Dealing with Museveni and getting him out of our way is the primary responsibility of Ugandans. Issues of an international kind of agenda is the responsibility of all community of nations and the international community, which Uganda is also part. As I've said, I have not read anywhere where America says they are coming to support Museveni. I have not read anywhere where the EU is saying so. And I don't want to believe they have actually come to legitimize a dictator or a despot. And my appeal to them, let's continue talking about this. The solution to Kony is very simple. Work with the democratic forces within Uganda, get rid of a despotic regime. Kony will come back home and we shall find a solution to him, whether he has to go to ICC or not. That will be a case for Ugandans working in a community of nations. But if it is perceived, like many people have perceived, that they are coming to kind of legitimize a despot, better they come out now to show that they are on the side of the suffering majority of the people who are dying every day because of the torture, tyranny, and denial of the regime in Uganda. And I think this one, as Obama said when he was coming into administration, he said, this is the time to stand alongside the suffering majorities in Africa and time up for the dictatorship. I hope this is only going to cement that, not to legitimize a dictator.
Thank you. Mr. Lubega, we're having another issue here which is happening in Somalia. At the current moment, there is a big number of Ugandan troops in Somalia. Don't you think it could be like a deja vu of what happened in the Democratic Republic of Congo by having Uganda intervening in the internal affairs of another country?
Last year, when I came over during the campaigns to mobilize the diaspora constituency of Uganda and to try and streamline our relationship with our traditional allies as Uganda, Britain being one of them, as you know, I said at that time that it is too much of a burden for Uganda to take and for Ugandans to take when the problem of Somalia is not just a problem of Uganda or Somalis, is a problem of East Africa, IGAD members, AU, and the international community. During that time, few believed that that policy can work. Today, I'm happy to report, and I'm happy with what is happening, that France and other members of the international community, including Britain and the United States, are now realizing that it must not only be Uganda to shoulder that burden. Our economy was too small to shoulder that burden, whether it means fighting terrorism or fighting bad governance in Somalia. In any case, we should not be seen to have condoned the maladministration in Uganda, taking our troops to Somalia without the consent of Parliament, the consent of the people. And as we speak today, it is that we want Mr. Museveni and whoever is in government to ensure that you consult your people. Parliament condones that. That's a foreign policy that I believe in. And it must be the foreign policy that we must get with into government as we fight this regime out. So our troops in Somalia have not made us safer. Our national security has been threatened more than it was 2 years ago. Today we are being targeted by El-Shabaab as if it is us witch hunting the El-Shabaab. The cause for taking troops in Somalia might have been genuine and bold, but it is a cause for all of us, not just for a few. And I'm happy with Kenya also coming in today, and every other East African nation, Burundi, and so many others. That is the way it should have been, but not to go there unilaterally the way Museveni took us there for personal interest and for him to get the money, the emoluments from the international community and eat it, not even giving it to the population that he needs today.
Thank you. Mr. Lubega, if you look again around Africa, all the dictators in Africa, they are having more or less the same problem. The problem is they do not know how to get out of the situation you find themselves in. What will happen if Museveni were to leave power today? I'm trying to refer to the situation that happened in Libya. What are you hoping to do for Museveni the day he's no longer in power?
I think Museveni's fate after power is in his hands. He knows very well the kind of crimes he has committed against his people, innocent citizens in the neighboring countries, to the extent of even having the blood on his fingers of presidents of neighboring countries and leaders of neighboring countries. Recently, hundreds of people have died on the streets. I remember having come out that he might not want to add on these very crimes that he has to answer by killing his own people on the streets. The cases of corruption, massive. Here we are talking about ultra corruption and ultra nepotism, unimaginable denial of his people, keeping a whole region under the occupation of his war machine. All these ones are cases, and of course rigging elections and retaining power unconstitutionally. So the whole situation and his fate, his future after power is in his hands. Can he say sorry to the people of Uganda? Can he say sorry to those that he has committed crimes? Can he say, can we open up a new chapter? Can he say, holding on to power forever is not the solution, because even Gaddafi, after 42 years, people rose up and threw him out, the Ben Ali, the Mubarak. Can he now take the opportunity and say, we need to write a new chapter where we build a new Uganda, where everybody fits with mutual respect, mutual trust, and in love, irrigating mutual interest?
Okay, Mr. Lubega, what will happen if Museveni were to say, okay, today I'm going to give it a go and let's have a democracy, let's have proper elections, I'm no longer staying in power? What will happen to him?
Citizens of countries, and in particular Africans and Ugandans, have lived to forgive as long as you do the needful. Everyone knows what Amin did to our country and Obote. Everyone knows the voices in unanimity which said, we have forgiven Idi Amin, we have forgiven Obote, we have forgiven Rutua, and they wanted them back. Even they wanted to bury Idi Amin at home. Museveni is not going to be an exception if we did the needful. But it is unfortunate. His continued intransigence and adamance is not going to spare him the wrath of the bottom-up momentum that the people are starting to build. That wider solidarity between those in the homeland and those in the diaspora, the leaders and the led, the young and the old, people of different tribes, and again, bridging solidarity with members of the international community. He might not survive it if he doesn't do the needful now.
Okay, Mr. Lubega, if you were to become president, let's say in the next 4 years after the mandate of Mr. Museveni, could you tell the international community right now that you are not going to try to hang on to power?
Number one, Museveni has no mandate for the next 4 years because he stole an election. The election was a sham and we rejected, and we still stand by that. And Ugandans still stand by that. That's why you see them rioting now. And because of that, I also I'm also not a strong believer that Museveni might even last up to the 4th year or 5th year in power from now. But let's assume he will. And then we fight another election. If only the Electoral Commission is going to be, if only the factors on the ground are going to improve better than that. And I am the president. I do not believe in hanging on to power for life, as Mr. Museveni has said. When one of the major reasons he fought the Idi Amin dictatorship and the Obote dictatorship was that Idi Amin, first and foremost, and Obote wanted to become life presidents. And Idi Amin, after 5 years, he said he wanted to be a life president. Museveni, after 25 years, even in the last elections, he said he wants to be a president paka last. That means forever. This one, we are not going to accept, we shall not allow, it cannot happen under our watch. He has ruled fraudulently, illegal and unconstitutional long enough. We cannot allow him to go on. For Lubega thinks that term limits, which Museveni removed from the constitution of Uganda, which he himself made sure that that constitution was made by the people of Uganda, and after that, he changed it. It only allows you 2 terms. I believe in 2 terms, but also I only believe in the second term. One, if it is not more than, if the presidential terms are not more than 7 years, 5 years. If they are 7 like in Rwanda, I have a problem, because if they are 2, it will be 14. If anything happens, the way it has happened, then it will be 21. That will be so unfair. I believe in 2 term limits. If you are only going to get a second term, having proven that actually you deserve a second term. So I'm a 2-term president who thinks you can only get the second term if only you have proved beyond reasonable doubt to the people that you deserve a second one.
Mr. Lubega, why should you trust? Why the international community need to trust you as the president of Uganda?
The track record for Sam Lubega is clear. A person who always wants to contribute and who wants to give service to the general public and to his country. I think that is enough of a track record that you can judge somebody, that somebody is not only exposed, not only competent, but he can live by his word and walk the talk.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lubega. Thank you for coming.